It appears now that justification for the US and Israel-led war in Iran is being carefully messaged for public consumption. We have very interesting sound-offs by people we expect to sound off. In this case, we have Mark Levin stating, "Listen carefully. Isolationist Nimrods," in response to this video by Trump, which I'll play. Before that, I asked Grok about a post that states something to the effect of, "It had to be this way." And so I'm told of post 4461, "Only when evil is forced into the light can we defeat it. Only when they can no longer operate in the shadows can people see the truth for themselves. Only when people see the truth for themselves will people understand the true nature of their deception. Seeing is believing. Sometimes you can't tell the public the truth. You must show them. Only then will people find the will to change. It had to be this way." And so as I look at current events, I wonder if at this point we are merely seeing a comedy of errors and attempts to justify past mistakes, or is this somehow still a part of a larger plan? The post itself was in reference to the 2020 selection process where a man who is claimed to be Joe Biden supposedly won. But there's this question which I wonder, is there a precedence in a post that suggests that Iran must properly be dealt with before Israel corruption can be purged? Are we seeing that process?
Israel forced your hand to launch these strikes against Iran. Did that pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact.
I would advise caution in taking his word for granted. Trump was a famous TV show host and so does know how to deliver his lines. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt tells us, no, Marco Rubio didn't claim that Israel dragged Trump into war with Iran. I watched through this and noticed that Marco Rubio does sound a little nervous. He quite clearly establishes here that if Israel struck Iran by itself, that Iran would, in response, hit U.S. bases and infrastructure. And so it's framed, implicitly, that the U.S. would join in a strike with Israel because nothing was going to stop Israel's action nor Iran's retaliation against the U.S.
A very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
So he seems to be indicating that the U.S. had its hand forced in the matter. The people are obviously very suspicious. We have this claim by Just Jack. Mark Rubio is many things, but he's no fool. He didn't inadvertently let it slip yesterday that Israel was calling a shot. It was intentional. He emphasized it multiple times. He knew it would make Trump look weak and not in control. He did it anyways. By my take, he knows Bibi has too much sway over Trump and it's dangerous to American lives and interests. I see there are specific accounts like Eric Doherty and MAGA Voice who are coordinating to emphasize other aspects of Marco Rubio's press conference, making those other aspects the focus rather than what I just showed you. A National Review article says that viewers might be conflating the why question with the why now question. Rubio was explicitly asked whether he was saying that the U.S. was forced to attack Iran because of impending Israeli action, and he responded no. He goes on to say, that's a question of why now, but this operation needed to happen because Iran, in about a year or year and a half, would cross the line of immunity, meaning they would have so many short-range missiles, so many drones, that no one could do anything about it because they could hold the whole world hostage. Look at the damage you're doing now, and this is a weakened Iran. Imagine a year from now. So that had to happen. Obviously, we are aware of the Israeli intentions and understood what that would mean for us, and we had to be prepared to act as a result of it. But this had to happen no matter what. And so I'll describe this as the imaginary horribles type framing, that some horrible thing is going to happen in the future, so you have to act now. But to counter this argument, I would then ask, why not 4 years ago? As you'll see, the 17 drops seem to indicate that Iran was supposed to be dealt with years ago. So really the question is, why now? And the question posed before, is there a precedent to suggest Iran must be properly dealt with before Israel corruption can be purged? I was answered by Grok, no, there is no 17 post that explicitly states or direct the question stated. 17 drops never use the phrase Israel corruption or similar in the context of a purge, nor do they frame any purging of Israel as a distinct goal. 17's language is overwhelmingly positive or neutral towards Israel as an ally in a broader narrative where criticism is focused on specific actors. However, the drops do establish a clear sequential plan in which Iran is repeatedly positioned as an earlier outgoing priority, Iran next, while anything Israel related is explicitly saved for the very end. This creates an implied order of operations that many interpreters have read as Iran as a cabal-funded rogue state being neutralized or exposed before the most sensitive final phase involving Israel. The key drops in the sequence, multiple Iran next drops mid to early 2018. We have 964, which shows arrows that lead to an Iran next. These arrows include EU, Russia, Iran, Korea, Syria, Pakistan, then Iran again. Post 1246 states Iran is next. Post 1146 states Iran is next, trust the land. Post 1570 states Iran next, regime in trouble. Post 8888 states we took control, Iran next, and post 890 states Iran next, a tough nut to crack. These follow the Saudi Arabia purge, November 2017 arrest celebrated as the opening move, and tie Iran to uranium-1, cash payments, nuclear deal, Syria, and cabal funding. The deem is cutting off funding leverage to rogue regime as part of exposing the global corruption. Famous Israel for last drop is the closest thing to a direct sequential statement. Post 916 and direct reply to an anon asking about Israel involvement in the A1 brothers IT scandal spying. We are saving Israel for last, very specific reason not mentioned a single time. Posted shortly after several Iran next drops, it was widely interpreted that this is the most sensitive cabal ties, often read as most deep elements or financial intel overlap being reserved for the final reveal to maximize impact or to avoid early backlash. Knowing what you know now regarding Israel disclosure moments ago, authentic, why is Sec of State here? Why is the EU others pressing to remain in a deal? POTUS declass Syria Iran plus uranium-1 connection. Where does the EU fit in? Sick. In the context, Israel disclosure, likely about lobbying for Iran nuclear deal, is immediately tied to declassifying Iran Syria U1 corruption. It positions the Iran deal exposure as happening now in 2018 with broader implications. So if we are still in the NCSWIC timeline where the inevitable always occurs, then it could mean that the president and Secretary of State are following the dictates of a broader authority in regards to the timeline. I expect obviously some of the true motivations for US's involvement in this conflict may be obscured. There's some very interesting things from the past that are now being brought up in context. Here, Liberal reporter Michael Tracy notes that Pete Hegseth, Trump's pick for defense secretary, proclaimed his heartfelt belief that the third temple will be rebuilt in Jerusalem. He also called for Israel annexation of the West Bank.
So much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle, 1948 was a miracle, 1967 was a miracle, 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle, and there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible.
And so that proclamation was met with applause. This Bible prophecy, Messianic perspective could possibly be influencing what we're seeing today. Here's a compilation of Trump stating he won't start new wars.
Oh, he's going to start a war because they said I had that personality to start a war. They remember that? Oh, we can't vote for him. He's going to start a war. No, I used my personality that we didn't have to have wars. I was the first president in decades who started no new wars. Who started no new wars and no new wars. No new wars. We don't need the wars, foreign lands, countries you've never heard of, countries that don't even want us there. I was the first president in decades who started no new wars. I was the first president in decades who started no new wars. We will expel the warmongers from our government. You know, we never got into a war with me. I have a great record.
In further context of who's in support of what we're seeing, here John Brennan calls Iranians who support the theocratic regime already in place as the quote-unquote MAGA equivalent. We all know how scorned and hated John Brennan is amongst the actual true MAGA in this country.
Yes, there are a lot of Iranian people who despise the regime and hated Khamenei and are glad that he's dead. But also, the regime and the theocracy have a lot of people who supported them. It's a country of over 92 million people. And so they have their equivalent of, in the rural areas, conservative areas, there's the MAGA equivalent in Iran. I
got an exchange with Austin Steinbart. He stated there is 1 to 2 weeks worth of air defense missiles left in the entire Israel and American arsenal combined. If Iran can hold out for 1 to 2 weeks, Israel will be defenseless, at which point they will probably resort to using nukes. To which I replied, it appears the US will prevent Iran from holding on. To which he replied, the clock is ticking. Every day this continues, we burn through larger and larger portions of our critical munition. Beating Iran doesn't matter if we waste all our ammo in the process. To which it appears Trump responded,
Plenty, but we have unlimited middle and upper ammunition, which is really what we're using in this war. And we have really an unlimited supply. Plenty.
Though in a conference from June 2025, he stated, we're a bit short of ammunition. This is because it's being sent to other countries very quickly, especially to one particular country. And so given the date of this particular speech, it would mean the US had only 8 months to go from limited ammo to unlimited ammo. So it's appearing to be a type of situation where we just have to watch the actions, as it's unclear that any of the statements can be believed. Senator Warner was briefed on Iran, and then he made a public statement. And this statement does contradict the narrative put out by the administration.
Be clear. I said before, I've said now, there was no imminent threat to the United States of America by the Iranians. There was a threat to Israel. If we equate a threat to Israel as the equivalent of an imminent threat to the United States, then we are in uncharted territory.
With the pregnant pauses for emphasis, I'm sure that was quite clear. Here, Bibi Netanyahu talks about the memory of Amalek, an ancient Middle Eastern tribe from 3 millennia ago.
זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק. אנחנו זוכרים ואנחנו פועלים.
And if this regime of terror has nuclear weapons, they will threaten all of humanity. Therefore, we went out to push away this danger too, first of all from ourselves, from us. But we are acting here together with the United States in the name of and for the sake of all humanity. I draw immense strength from the resilience of our citizens, from the heroism of our soldiers and commanders. We read in this week's Torah portion, remember what Amalek did to you. We remember, and we act.
So this does appear to be a pattern of increased justification by association. So because Israel worked with the United States, that's additional mandate to defend against the nuclear threat posed by this other nation. And very interestingly, Kim Clement prophesied this moment. Massive shaking is going to take place in Iran.
Not be stopped. He will not be silenced by these that have tried to silence them in the Middle East. So I saw these massive events being planned by God and His Holy Spirit. This preservation and the time for it is extended into the Middle East and especially for God's people in Iran. Hear me, this is a prophetic thing, where a massive shaking is going to take place in Iran. Now it may sound obvious, no. This is something God ordained. This is not something Obama ordained.
So this is causing me to wonder a bit about these prophecies. Could it be that Kim was read into the 17 plan? And did he know that Erica Kirk was going to become the Esther to anoint America? Already propped up at that point in 2013 or 2014 when he gave this prophecy? That would then imply that Charlie Kirk's end was known at that point too. Way too much planning to comprehend if true. Here, per Max Blumenthal, dry drunk Pete Hegseth crashed out after being asked a simple question about why American men and women are being sent to attack.
To a longer war and then one for the chaplain.
Did you not hear my remark? We're ensuring the mission gets accomplished, but we're very clear-eyed, as the president has been, unlike other presidents, about the foolish policies of the past that recklessly pulled us in to things that were not tethered to actual clear objectives. So we know, we have plans, we have generals, we have chairmen, we have commanders, CENTCOM commanders, Admiral Cooper.
The American people also want to know.
So from the more spiritual perspective of trying to discern good versus evil, I have to ask, what comes to your mind when you see this response by Pete Hegseth? What spiritual focus is he operating from? Beyond the fact that we can speculate a power that exists higher than the presidency of the United States, do all the pawns, rooks, knights operating under that power convey a clear humility and reasonableness as they stage the messaging needed to carry out their objective? Is this power attempting to rile the American people up in an ordo ab cow execution of a dialectic? It could really be that none of the crazy stuff we're seeing in social media actually matters anymore. It could be that we're just allowed to wonder amongst ourselves the details of what's happening and debate the ethics of what's happening, but the core focus on the objectives continue regardless.